And that's the topic of this video. A lot of people like to do a lot more talking than walking or signing contracts to get in the ring. But over the last 24 hours, real media and not fanboys are, basically telling the truth about this guy, Javante Tank Davis. Javante ain't much of a tank. He doesn't conduct himself like a tank. Or maybe we should call him paper tank, or we should call him, toy tank, the cheap, green toy tanks that you used to could get for around $2 and stuff, a whole bag, those plastic army people, and tanks and all that kind of stuff, because he is not conducting himself like a tank. And, the tank fans are, some of them, the diehards, are scrambling. A lot of the tank fans have been quiet over the past, couple of days because, as we all knew, Tank ain't really trying to fight nobody. Once again, Tank is the epitome of a internet wingster. He loves to dish out insults and insult people and disrespect people, but then all of a sudden he want to play victim, talking about somebody said something about his mom. And as I said before, he tried to disrespect Devin Haney's mother. And even if Devin Haney did say something about his mother, well, hold on. So what? What about how you talked about Terrence Crawford's wife? What about how you talked about Bomac? What about how made that comment about Floyd Schofield, being the F word, the other F word that rhyme with hag? Then, not to mention, you threatened Lamont Peterson's kids. Now, with that being said, to me, those are funkin' words, threatening somebody's kids. But we all know Tank ain't go bust a grape. And like I said, I don't know why these people that support Tank making it seem like Tank is just this street savvy dude, and Tank isn't the street savvy dude. And once again, this is what I've been saying about the PBC. Once again, they offered Devin Haney a bullshit ass offer that they knew damn well Devin wasn't gonna take. They knew Devin wasn't gonna take that offer. But the latest word, Bill is in Las Vegas. From my knowledge, there's supposed to be a meeting tomorrow with, Top Rank to see can they put together a fight with Keyshawn. Now, from what I've been told, from what my sources tell me, um, so far the money ain't looking right. At the end of the day, when you're Devin Haney, to a certain degree, you expect a certain type of, you expect a certain type of money. Devin Haney, his last two fights, he made like around $24 million. Now, should he take a pay cut? I don't know. I mean, I'm not, I'm not on the payroll, you know, but I would like for him to take that fight with Keyshawn and basically, beat Keyshawn up, you know. But the thing is, with Shakur Stevenson, you just can't trust anything that come out of Shakur's mouth. Now, they are willing to drop the belt, but the problem is with Shakur Stevenson, there's no guarantee. Shakur make them, or basically they drop the belt with Shakur giving his word. Then next thing you know, Shakur Stevenson, uh, basically Shakur Stevenson, oh, I got another fight lined up. And then basically Devin Haney has given up his WBO belt, and then, they may skip over him. So I wouldn't do it. The only way I would do something like that, first of all, Shakur ain't in no position to dictate anything because he really don't have that much leverage. But it comes across a little bit, and I understand that Devin want to make the best fights available, and I know that he's being offered stupendous money for a Shakur Stevenson fight. But if Shakur Stevenson don't want to make the fight, you have to move on. And that's just real. But what I would do with Shakur Stevenson, if it was me, based off the fact that his word don't mean nothing, I would make Shakur Stevenson, okay, well, if you want us to give up the belt, okay, we want a $1 million security deposit. Okay. So basically, you got to give us $1 million, and you got to give us that up front before we sign anything. You got to give us that up front. So basically, if anything happens when we sign that fight, along the way, if you suffer injury or whatever the case may be, or you decide to go another direction, then we get to keep that money. Now, if you go through with the fight or whatever the case may be, you get it back. It's just like when basically when you move into an apartment, you have to pay first and last month's rent. They call it a security deposit, but if you decide to move out, you get some of it back, but you already know that the landlord is going to come up with a way not to give you back your entire your entire security deposit. They'll try to say, "Oh, I had to do this and I had to do that." So based off this, you know how it works. So I just said that I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, and I'll talk to Bill. And then at the same time, Shakur, that's the problem. Shakur wants a 144 catch weight, then he wants a 10-pound rehydration and all that kind of stuff. No, I'm not doing that. But this is the same Shakur Stevenson that said he'll go up to 147 and fight Ryan Garcia or Conor Benn without a rehydration. So the dude constantly contradicts himself, and he get caught in lies. And that's just the honest to God truth. I wouldn't do it. I don't like it. I made that very clear to Bill. I don't think that's a good idea because Shakur Stevenson's word is not bond. All this stuff about, drop the belt. First of all, like I said, I would have told Shakur Stevenson to go to hell. I'm already succeeding a catch weight to you. So why do I have to give up a belt? Now, like I said, I'll promise you, if they drop the belt, Shakur Stevenson, go fight somebody else, and he'll come up with an excuse and say, "Oh, well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that." I promise you. And then the thing is about Shakur Stevenson, you criticize this man, he holds a grudge against you. Well, here's the thing: we have a right to criticize you, Shakur, because you definitely ain't Bud. I can say that much. You definitely ain't Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford didn't put it on the line. Terrence Crawford then made sacrifices. He done made all the sacrifice and compromised himself on many occasions, to get where he is and finish on top. He had to comply with what Canelo asked for to get the fight. But I will say this much: Canelo, from my knowledge, Canelo didn't ask for a catch. He didn't ask for a rehydration. Bud went up to 168. So basically, that was just the bottom line. But the thing is with Shakur, I just don't like how he move it because one, he talking like he talking like he Keyshawn's manager. He shouldn't even be worried about what's going on with Keyshawn. But at the end of the day, this is just a way that basically Top Rank can try to get Keyshawn in a position to fight for that belt. Me, myself, I think if Devin drops the belt, they should order a bout between Keyshawn Davis and Brian Norman Jr. They should not award Keyshawn a belt because really, if you think about it, Keyshawn has not had one fight at 147, and miraculously, he gets to skip the line. And he gets, and this is why people have an issue with the sanctioned body. This is why people are saluting what's going on with Zuffa. Nobody who especially nobody should be telling somebody what to do with their belt. But this is the problem with Devin. Devin likes to make all the sacrifices. Devin will make all the sacrifices, but none of these other dudes will. Once again, Devin Haney had to go to Australia not once but twice. He had to go there to win the undisputed title, and then he had to defend his title. He had to go right back. That's something that you don't see these other dudes doing. They don't want to step up. They don't want to step up to the plate. They don't want to sit up there and put themselves in a, they don't want to sit up there and put themselves in a position. They don't want to take no risk. And you see too much of this going. You see too much of this going on, and in particularly, you got this thing now where these dudes are forming alliances that basically freeze out other boxers, and this pathetic. It's pathetic. I'm tired of seeing this goofy Avenger super friend. I'm like, come on, man. When do we get to a point where you say, all right, this got to stop? I just cannot imagine going back to the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and the early 2000s before the emergence and the internet, before the internet became part of everyday life. I just can't imagine these dudes doing this stuff the way these dudes would rather fight online instead of fighting in the ring. And like I said, all Tank is good for is basically talking shit on the internet, but he ain't about signing no contracts to fight anybody. He already know that Al don't like to give no brothers no guaranteed money. Like I said, the only people that didn't got guaranteed money was Canelo and Conor Benn. Well, Shakur doing this to himself. If Shakur being criticized, he brought this on himself. If Tank being criticized, he brought this on himself. But like I said, the Tank fans are out of excuses for him. They are the excuses. Oh, Bill is lying. Oh, Bill is lying. Bill is lying. Well, when is Tank gonna sign a I thought Tank retired. And what happened to him changing his name to Abdul Rahad? I thought his name is Abdul Rahad. I thought he was going. I thought when he became Muslim, he was going to go by the name Abdul Rahab. He's still going by the name, but that's not out of the ordinary. But from what we was told, he was going by the name Abdul Rahad, and he has not legally changed his name to Abdul Rahad. Listen, I understand Devin Haney and Bill are Muslims, but he was the one announcing that was his Muslim name. So I thought he was going to legally change his name to Abdul Rahad, and he has not changed. What's up, CB? Shout out to my boy CB representing that Chi-Town. So I'm just saying, Tank just continues to expose himself. The man is 31 years old, going on 32. And when you look at his resume, he really doesn't have a signature fight. He has some decent fights, but he doesn't have that signature fight. And the fight that could have been a great win for him to be added on his resume in Lamont Roach, he basically had a draw, and Tank has refused to get in the ring with Lamont Roach again. Refused to. That should have been the obvious fight for Tank to make. But once again, Tank isn't sure of himself. I've been trying to tell you about this dude. I've been trying to tell you about Javante Abdul Rahad or whatever he called himself. I don't know. Whatever he called himself, that he ain't who he pretend to be. And to me, he worse than some of these chicks that be on the internet. And then the thing with him, he's sitting up here talking shit over a ghost account that we all know is him now. We all know it. We all know it's him, and he don't want to keep it. He don't want to keep it a buck. The man is scared of Devin Haney. This is a dude that basically said that because somebody asked him to fight, he said he needed 2 Ferraris. That I want this to be clear. Tank has been offered. He's been offered 15 million guaranteed from Turkey, from the Saudis. 15 million guaranteed. Basically, the purse, him and Devin Haney going right down the line as far as the purse go. 15 million apiece. So that's a $30 million purse that they splitting 50-50. But they told Tank 55-45 of the pay-per-view just because Tank did $1 million versus Ryan Garcia. Tank does not want to take it. So you do the math. The math is not mathing. So you basically saying with Al Heyman, take the 70-30, which Devin Haney, that ain't a good deal. That Devin did too much, and Devin's resume is far superior to Tank's. Devin Haney is a legitimate pound-for-pound fighter. Tank is just a popular fighter. Tank is not on anybody's pound-for-pound list. Okay. He's not considered a pound for pound fighter. It's different between being a pound for pound fighter and then being a popular fighter. Okay, he does sell tickets, but I put up Devin Haney's ticket sales, you know, his last 5 fights versus Tank's last 5 fights, and Devin has outsold Tank. So they can't use this stuff that Devin doesn't have a fan base, because that's a damn lie. That's a lie. So the only advantage Tank was going to have was the 55-45. So you're guaranteed 15 million. You're guaranteed 15 million. You're guaranteed 55-45. So let's just say, so Tank is looking at possibly making like anywhere from additional $5 to $10 million. Tank could walk away with $25 million depending on how successful the pay-per-view is, but he don't want to take it. You would be a fool if you Devin Haney to take a 70-30, just pay-per-view only deal with no back end. I mean, excuse me, just 70-30 with no upfront money. And the deal with Rolly was even worse, where they basically said 50-50 of the of the pay-per-view money, no guarantee. And we know Rolly then fought on quite a few undercards. And then Rolly has basically only been on pay-per-view, if I'm not mistaken, as the headliner once, and that was versus Tank. So once again, that's your guy Al Haymon. Like I say, Al Haymon try to lowball and give these black fighters these nigga deals, these fake nigga deals that they think black people are just naive to the fact they just gonna sign that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I promise you, if Devin Haney would agreed to 70-30, Tank would have came with something else. 70-30 and Tank wanted a rehydration clause. Like I said, Tank is laughable now. His fans didn't tuck. Yeah, CB Tank's fans didn't tuck their tails. They just hiding. All the only comeback they can come with is Bill is lying. Bill is lying. Oh, it's Cap. Oh, it's Cap. Yeah, but this is Al Haymon's history. This is Al Haymon's history. Once again, Canelo got his money. Canelo got his guaranteed 30 million plus the pay-per-view. So why can't Al Haymon do it for the brothers? Conor McGregor got his guaranteed 60 million, and then based off what the pay-per-views did, talked about the fight did like 4 million pay-per-view. So Conor McGregor probably made Conor McGregor made probably $80 million off the Floyd fight. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, 45-55 in favor of Tank. That's cool. But 15 million get like, nah, man, come on, man. The math ain't mathing. The math is not math, and help me understand this. But this is Tank. This is him. It's MO. Tank is so afraid of losing. I'm trying to tell you guys, Tank's confidence is shaken, because I'm gonna tell you something. Tank did not think Roach was going to finish that fight. He thought he was going to be able to knock Roach out. Then Tank took a knee. Tank got dropped. He took a knee. And then, to be honest with you, Tank caught a break. Tank caught a break because technically you cannot call a timeout. And Tank called a timeout that could have led to a disqualification. And Steve Willis, one of the far better referees, he just got too caught up in the hype. And basically, if he had called that a knockdown, Tank loses that fight. He loses that fight. And ever since then, Tank should have been like, man, I'll fight that dude again. I'll prove to you that this ain't no fluke. But it's been a year. It's been a year. Tank thought that boxing couldn't survive without him, and Tank had became a distant memory. Because one, Tank, how can I say this? Tank isn't an interesting guy. Even when you do interviews with Tank, he really doesn't give you much. And then, the thing is, say what you want to say about all these fighters. Keep in mind, as a dude that does media as a credentialed media member. Tank is the one that try to hide from everybody, act like he Michael Jackson and stuff. Tank has always been like that. He's always been funny style, where dudes like AB, they made they self available, Robert Easter Jr. and all this kind of stuff. So it's cool. But once again, I feel like this is I've been blacklisted by the PBC. I might as well go all the way in, or as the Whispers once say, let's go all the way. So yeah, I'm gonna give y'all something to ban me. I'm gonna give y'all something to ban me. That's real talk. Your guy Tank is a front runner. You know. Well, I seen Floyd, and to a certain degree, I caught what Floyd said. He sat up there and said, "Yeah, well, here's the thing. Floyd tried to sneak diss us a little bit too, saying that some of us be praying for his downfall." I don't want to hear that from Floyd. And Floyd tried, like, you can't like sit up there and praise and diss at the same time. I'm gonna tell you something, and I'm gonna make this very clear. I can't speak for anybody else, but I can speak for Town Bid Sports and Entertainment. The only issues I had with Floyd was outside the box of some of that ridiculous stuff he said, some of that cooning he was doing, and Floyd know he was cooning. And he lied on the black community and said that we didn't support him. Like I said, I followed Floyd his whole career from beginning to end. And let me tell you something, whenever Floyd fought on Saturday, his pay-per-view fights, you would see people congregating at the barbershops. You would see people congregating at the bars, at the lounges, people having watch parties at their house and stuff, and they were black. So Floyd sat up there and told a bold-faced lie, and it's damn near like nobody ain't forgot about that. He gonna sit up there and say that the Hispanics got him where he was. Bullshit. 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 And a lot of these bad habits that these fighters then picked up, to where they just, want, high reward and don't want to take high risk. That shit came from Floyd, because now everybody want to protect their O. And I think that's the thing that's hurting these black fighters. And I gotta say this much, as us being fans and media, we got to stop turning our back on black fighters when they lose a fight or two. Because say what you want to say about these Mexicans or these Hispanics, Manny Pacquiao lost multiple fights. Manny Pacquiao, if I'm not mistaken, out of his 9, I don't know how many losses he had, 8, 9, 10 losses. Manny Pacquiao was stopped at least 3 or 4 times in his fights. And he went on to become a Hall of Famer. Some people say one of the greatest fighters that ever lived. Not to me. Muhammad Ali, he got stopped before, even though he was well past his prime, and they should not have sanctioned that fight with Larry Holmes. And some people call Muhammad Ali the GOAT. Some of the greatest fighters that ever lived, they got stopped. Joe Louis got stopped before. At the end of the day, in my generation, we were fortunate to see, 3 of the best fighters that lived. Floyd, after he left, he passed the torch to Andre Ward. Andre Ward had a short stint at number 1, and Andre Ward, he hung it up, and then Bud took over. But as black people, we got to stop doing this to our fighters, saying that they're washed and all that kind of stuff. We got to support them, win, lose, or draw. Because at the end of the day, Sugar Ray Leonard lost fights, and people still supported him, and we supported him. Me coming from that generation, but now this new generation, because of the Floyd Mayweather effect, we don't think our black fighters are any good anymore because they lose a fight or two, and somebody has to put that out there. So listen, this is just real talk. I'm gonna continue to support Shoo and guys like that, even if they have a stumbling block. They lose a fight or 2 or 3 fights. Roy Jones Jr. lost like 10 or 11 fights. Roy Jones Jr. is one of the greatest fighters that I ever seen. He one of the greatest fighters that I ever seen. Mike Tyson, one of the greatest fighters that I ever seen. Larry Holmes, one of the greatest fighters. They all lost. And we have to stop doing that as a community. We got to stop, writing our fighters off if they lose a fight or 2. Now, if they can finish undefeated, that's cool. But at the end of the day, if they don't, we can't just wash our hands of them. So we part of the problem too. And I'm one of the very few media people that's calling this out. But then again, I'm pretty sure somebody gonna see this video and they're gonna use my talking points. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Like I said, and getting back to Floyd, the stuff that's going on with Floyd, he did this to himself. He turned his back on us. He thumbed his nose at us. He tried to sneak this us far too many times, and he lied on us. So if people don't feel bad for Floyd based off what's going on, his current financial status, that's on him, because Floyd shouldn't have lied. You know, he shouldn't have lied on us. He disrespected us. So if people is not, being too quick to say, there, Floyd, let me give you a virtual hug. Well, Floyd need to look at himself. He need to look at himself. The people, and I'm gonna say this again, the people that were praying for his downfall had Spanish names. They had Spanish names, or their skin tone lacked melanin. You know, or they might have been from a different continent in the world. Those were the people that was praying for Floyd's downfall in the ring and outside the ring. There ain't no video of me saying that I hope Floyd loses all his money. If you can find a video of me saying that I hope Floyd loses every penny he got and he ends up sleeping under a freeway, if you can find a video of me saying that, that's not AI. I'm telling you right now, I will shut down my channel, and I will shut down when I say I will shut down all of my social media channels, all my social media accounts. Real talk. I will shut down both my YouTube channels, and I will shut down my Instagram. But I am confident that you won't find that footage. I guarantee you won't find. Yeah, there's videos of me going in on Floyd, but there's no videos of me wishing that Floyd loses all his money. And I'm gonna say this again. Floyd can sit up there and say that people is all in his pockets and all this. I ain't in your pockets. This is fact. This is fact. This is fact. To sit up there and the thing is with Floyd want to continue the flaws. Listen. If you got the type of money Floyd got, you pay your bills on time. You don't have no people hawking you down, saying that you owe this, you owe that. Now, I can understand that it may happen every once in a while where your accountants or whatever, the people in charge of your money, may forget to pay this particular bill, but you got multiple pending lawsuits. You're getting sued for millions because they're saying they haven't been paid. This is documented. This is fact. But you sitting up there saying that we're spreading lies. Hey, it's not us. So once again, Floyd, if you feel like the black community don't have your back, well, you need to look in the mirror and tell me what you see. All this stuff you've been ordered to pay $900,000 in back child support. Once again, Floyd, you pushing 50. You shouldn't even be making these type of mistakes. I get it. Nobody's perfect. But Floyd, you damn near 50. Come on, man. You should be at a point to where you know better than this. You're not setting a good example. And then, to be honest with you, Floyd displayed a lot of bad habits. Because the thing is with Floyd, Floyd has possibly, basically built the image that's hard for a lot of black fighters to distance themselves from. All this stuff about I'll be the bad guy and all this kind of stuff. And that's why I got pissed off. And if I had seen Max Kellerman when he said, yeah, going into this fight, Bud is the bad guy versus Canelo, why the fuck is Bud the bad guy? How the fuck is Bud the bad guy when Canelo is the one that got caught with PEDs in his system from eating those mystery meat burritos? or tacos. And all this stuff about, oh, it was the meat and all that stuff. And then, Jamal Charlo basically said, well, I went to Mexico and I ate meat out there and I never tested positive. Like I said, at the end of the day, this is where you have people that basically try to insult your intelligence. But, and then I'm still just pondering and questioning, and I just have a big question mark at just imaginary question mark over my head, thinking about why hasn't Eddie Reynoso been investigated when you didn't have not one, not two, not three, but 4, 5, 6 fighters that you were currently training, or at one time you trained, and somehow, some way, they miraculously tested positive for PED. That doesn't make any kind of sense. But you got these morons, you got these idiots sitting up talking about snack and all this kind of stuff. Once again, you can order snack products online. Once again, you can go to GMC or your vitamin store and you will see snack products. But as I said before, only the black fighters are accused of being on PEDs that are snack clients. So you make that make sense. Well, CB, that's what I'm saying. I'm not finna sit up here and tell people that you need to pray for Floyd and then Floyd. No. Once again, Floyd, you said we wasn't there for you. You said that we left you hanging. I could show you the receipts. And it meant, and too bad it's probably too bad it's probably some kind of statute, some kind of statute of limitation. Because if that's the case, if the black community didn't help Floyd, then we need to demand a refund from Comcast or COX, Cox Cable, or whoever you was using at the time during the Floyd Money Mayweather era, when we were paying top dollar, when we were paying $50, $60, $70, $80 to watch Floyd fight. Since he said it didn't happen, then they need to give us a refund. Because I spent hundreds of dollars on Floyd Mayweather pay-per-views. If I didn't go watch him at the bar or whatever the case may be, I had to pay money, chip in for these parties and stuff. So yeah, I spent quite a bit of money on these Floyd pay-per-views. So yeah, once again, Floyd did this to himself. Floyd is on an island of his own. Floyd is on whatever, Star Island or Floyd Island, whatever you want to call it. He brought this shit on himself. Well, remember the situation when people said, hey, Floyd, man, stay away from Gucci for a while. But Floyd said he said he a leader and he not a follower. Well, you ain't that good of a leader, Floyd, because look what happened with your leadership. Obviously, you are not the smartest leader out there, because your leadership led yourself straight into getting robbed and swindled out of hundreds of millions of dollars. Once again, we don't know how much access we don't know how much access Floyd has to the money that's left. He's not giving us access. He's not, but as I said before, you have to call Cat when the dude constantly just sits up there and try to pretend. And I guess Floyd is gonna ride this facade to the very end. I guess that's just his thing. I guess that's just his MO. He's gonna try to ride this out. He's, no matter what the situation is, and no matter what the reports tell us, Floyd is gonna sit up there and say, I'm taking care of my family. I'm paying. Okay, Floyd, cool. But a lot of us know better. Dana White saying then he may help Floyd out. Floyd may end up fighting past 50. He may have to take a Conor McGregor rematch. There's some other stuff out there too. The Manny Pacquiao rematch has been postponed. So I've been saying this to people that know Bill. Hey, I'm gonna say this once again. Manny's available. I guarantee you that the WBO would let Devin Haney fight Manny Pacquiao. And I would love that fight for Devin. But Devin better make sure Manny Pacquiao, is on the up and up. Make sure, everything is in order with Manny Pacquiao. Well, I am going to run that by Bill. I mean, that would be a legacy fight, and that would be a good notch on. Listen, it don't matter any version of Manny Pacquiao you beat. That's a good notch on you. That's a good notch on your belt. That's an extra hole in your legacy belt if you have Manny Pacquiao attached to it. And I'm supposed to talk to Bill in the morning. I'm gonna suggest that. But Bill is in Las Vegas. He told me he was in Las Vegas. He called me earlier yesterday. Well, there's another fight out there for Floyd. If Floyd want to make the type of money, or at least money similar to what he used to making, there's a few fights out there for Floyd. But at this point, would Floyd take him? I'm gonna put this out there, and I'll talk to a lot of people. I'm gonna discuss this with Matchroom. Another fight that's out there for Floyd, which would be a changing of the guard, or would be a torch passing fight. I mean, Floyd could fight Boots. And I talked to some people that's affiliated with Boots. They said that makes sense. And they say they may run that through Boots. And Boots, listen, if Floyd won a big payday, at the end of the day, we expected Floyd to fight Boots. Floyd would be an underdog, and Boots would be expected to win. At the end of the day, we wouldn't care if Floyd lost to Boots, because you know why? He passed the torch to Boots, and he passed the torch to a black fighter. If Boots fights Floyd Mayweather and he beats him, look, Boots jumps to the front of the line. When I say Boots elevates up the the mythical pound per pound list, Boots would be very high. He would be very high up there. I'm just telling the truth. Yeah, but Bud, I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. Bud is done. Bud ain't come back. Bud just be Bud doing broadcasting now. So Bud not coming back. But Bud, he a broadcaster now. He an analyst now. And I just think Bud respect Floyd too much to do that to him. But I think Boots would do it, and I wouldn't have no problem with that. But I can put it to you this way. That's about the only fight out there for Floyd where he could make 20, 30 million. Of course, he could be the A side, he could be the headliner, whatever the case may be. They could fight at a catch weight of probably maybe 152. But it would be a passing the torch fight. I know Boots would feel bad, but at the end of the day, I'd rather Floyd lose his O to a black fighter than a non-black fighter. Yeah, I said it. Now, negotiations are going on for Deontay Wilder and Usyk. It's looking like the fight is gonna be a Zuffa fight. Don't know when the fight is gonna happen, but they are in negotiations. This indeed will be Usyk's last fight. Usyk is basically giving up the belts because, well, this is going to be his last fight. Now, I don't like the fact that Deontay Wilder is being robbed of an opportunity to become a champion again at age 40, but it would be a great opportunity. But, Usyk, that's on him, So basically, they're going to have probably a tournament. and Moses Adama. If Moses Adama is successful in his next fight, that'll put him in a position to fight for one of the belts. So basically, it's gonna be a rat race to try to get the belts and become undisputed. Usyk does not want he does not want a rematch with Rico, so he's gonna fight Wilder. It's gonna be a big money fight. I don't know where the fight is going to take place, but they are in negotiations. And I'm going to say this again: Bill is in Las Vegas. He's going to have a meeting with Top Rank sometime, if not tomorrow, sometime during the week. See, can they basically come to some kind of agreement? But from my knowledge, from what I've been told right now, it's not. It's not an appealing offer that they want to give Devin to fight Keyshawn. So we'll see. But anyway, you guys, shutting it down for the night. Appreciate you being here. It's your boy Town. I'm out.